Chapter 7. Dawn's light struggles to get through the austere windows of the facility as I tread the familiar path to meet Jack for another relentless day of training. Our routine spans from running in the chill of morning to the structured demands of academy courses, from the challenges of hacking tutoring to the physical exertion in the gym. The day ends with the hardest part, combat training with Jack. This regimen, as grueling as it is, has become our unspoken pact, a testament to our shared determination. Yet, amidst this rigorous schedule, I feel something subtle yet profound has shifted between us. I sense a newfound awareness, a mutual recognition that hums quietly beneath the surface of our interactions. It's both satisfying and unsettling, this uncharted territory of understanding we've stumbled upon, adding a dimension of complexity to our already challenging days. During a rare moment of peace in the midst of our grueling routine, I'm drawn to Clara for a moment of respite. We settle into a secluded corner of the facility, away from the hustle and bustle of the other trainees. Clara's company is a soothing balm, and I find myself longing for her grounding presence, a chance to unload, to stop the whirlwind in my head and anchor myself back to reality. "Clara," I begin, hesitating a moment as I try to find the right words. "This training with Jack, it's more intense than I ever imagined, not just physically." Clara looks at me with a soft, empathetic gaze. "I've noticed you've been pushing yourself hard," she says gently. "What's going on?" I take a deep breath, the words tumbling out. "It's Jack. Training with him is tough. But not just that. I can't quite explain it. There's this electric tension, Like under every touch, every look, there's something else. It's confusing, even unsettling, and I'm not sure what to make of it." As I speak, I feel a weight lifting off my shoulders. I've been carrying these thoughts alone for too long. Clara listens intently, her expression changing to one of concern. "Oh, no. You are going down a dangerous path here. Jack is not just a complicated guy," she articulates every word. "He's got a reputation for being tough, and not just in training. You see what I'm saying? Eva, getting too close is the worst idea you have ever had." Her words echo the cautionary voice in my head, the one I've been trying to hold on. I know, I admit, but it's not something I planned. It's just happening, and I'm not sure how to deal with it. My mind gets muddled, my hormones run wild, and before I know it, I'm fighting off fantasies in the middle of a headlock. Overwhelmed by embarrassment, I find myself desperately trying to conceal my flushed face, burying it in my hands. There's a burning heat in my cheeks, a telltale sign of the turmoil inside. I'm struggling to regain composure, to hide this uncharacteristic vulnerability that he unwittingly evokes. Clara reaches out, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "Maybe you need a break from all this, a chance to put some space between you two. How about we go out tomorrow night? A night in Sioux, just loose ourselves a bit. It might help clear your head." The idea is unexpectedly appealing. A night out, away from the training and the complex emotions associated with Jack, could be exactly what I need. "That sounds like a great idea," I reply, feeling a smile forming. "Thanks, Clara. I think I really need that." Clara's excitement mirrors my own, her eyes lighting up. "It's settled then," she exclaims, her enthusiasm infectious. "A night to just unwind and forget about all the stress. Let's party and get laid. You'll see, it'll do wonders for you." Her energy is palpable, and it's hard not to be swept up in her positive outlook. Seeing her so animated, so full of life, reinforces my decision. This is more than just a night out. It's a much-needed break, a chance to reconnect with the simpler joys of life. The morning sun shines through the trees, making patterns of light and shadow on the path Jack and I jog side by side. The natural surroundings of the forest seem to soften the usual rigid structure of our training, creating an atmosphere that feels less formal, more open. Curiosity gnaws at me, driving me to understand more about Jack, this enigmatic figure who's become such a crucial part of my daily training. There's so much about him that remains a mystery, including his past. I've noticed a slight accent in his speech, a subtle hint of something foreign, something different. "Jack," I start, my voice slightly hesitant. "I've noticed you have an accent. It's faint, but it's there. Where are you originally from?" Jack seems taken aback by the question, his stride faltering ever so slightly before he regains his rhythm. He's silent for a moment, as if weighing the decision to open up. I was born in the American territory, he finally says, his voice measured. Moved to Europe when I was 8. His admission sparks a series of questions in my mind. What was that like for you, moving here, leaving your hometown? There's a tension in the air, a sense that these questions are probing into a part of his life he usually keeps locked away. He runs with his gaze fixed forward, lost in thought, and for a moment I wonder if I've pushed too far. It was tough, he answers, pausing to choose his words. Everything shifted. I had to adapt, and fast. I catch a glimpse of a deeper story in his brief reply, a tale of disruption and tenacity. Curiosity gets the better of me, pushing me to delve into the life of the man who trains me, who pushes and perplexes me in equal measure. How did you manage? I probe, my tone gentle yet firm. Back then, as a child, newly arrived here. Jack's eyes meet mine, revealing a brief flicker of raw emotion, swiftly concealed. It shaped me, he responds, his voice carrying a blend of reflection and a hint of guard. I learned to rely on myself, to never need anyone else. As the path winds deeper into the woods, the conversation between Jack and me takes on a weightier tone. The revelation that he was born in the American territory piques my curiosity further, urging me to understand the circumstances that brought him here, to this place, to this moment. You said you moved here when you were young, I prompt gently, cautious not to overstep, but driven by a desire to understand. Was that your decision? Your parents? Jack's stride slows a bit, and he takes a deep breath before responding, a sign that we're venturing into deeply personal territory. No, it wasn't my choice, he confesses, his voice carrying a trace of something I can't quite place. Perhaps it's sorrow or resignation. I was deported to a foster family here after my parents died. I didn't have a say in it. This revelation hits me with unexpected force. The notion of a young Jack, uprooted from his home and thrust into a foreign land following such a profound loss, paints a picture of his life that's far more complex and tumultuous than I had imagined. I'm sorry, I say, my words feeling inadequate for the gravity of his experience. That must have been incredibly tough. Jack gives a non-committal shrug, but I can sense the impact those events had on him. As we approach the end of our run, I gather the courage to ask about something that has been lingering in my mind since our last training session. Jack, I begin cautiously, the other day in the gym, I couldn't help but notice, there's a number tattooed on your arm. What does it mean? For a moment, Jack seems to stiffen, and I immediately wonder if I've crossed a line. The question hangs between us, suspended in the cool morning air. He slows his pace further, glancing down at his arm as if seeing the tattoo for the first time. That, he says after a brief pause, his voice lower, was from my time in the foster system. Each kid got a number. It was their way of keeping track of us. Just a number in a system that didn't really care who we were or what became of us. His explanation hits me with a wave of sadness. The impersonal nature of such a system, reducing a child's identity to a mere number, seems so cold, so devoid of compassion. I'm sorry, Jack. That sounds so dehumanizing, I reply, struggling to find the right words. He shrugs, a gesture that seems to carry a lifetime of resignation. It was what it was. You learn to live with it, to not let it define you. But yeah, it wasn't the best of times in my life. As we make our way back toward the facility, my mind grapples with Jack's revelation. The idea of kids getting deported, taken away from everything they know, it's just so messed up. It seems like a harsh and illogical response to any situation, especially for someone as young as Jack was. I didn't know they did that. Deported kids away from their country, I say, all confused. We emerge from the wooded trail, our footsteps transitioning from the soft forest floor to the more solid ground leading back to the facility. My mind is still wrestling with the revelation of Jack's childhood, the deportation, the numbering system, the stark reality of his upbringing. Why did they deport you? That's seriously messed up, I ask, trying to understand the reasoning behind such a decision. There's a part of me that seeks logic in the chaos of his past, something that could make sense of the harsh reality he's just described. Jack's response is a simple shrug, an indication that either he doesn't know, or perhaps the reasons are too complex and painful to articulate. I never really got a clear answer. This, he says. His tone is nonchalant, but I can sense a deeper current of resignation, or perhaps acceptance. I glance over at Jack, observing him in a new light. There's a resilience in his stride, a certain determination in the way he carries himself, qualities undoubtedly forged in his challenging past. Yet there's also a guardedness, a protective barrier he's built around himself, perhaps a necessary armor against a world that has at times been unkind and unforgiving. As we walk in silence, I find myself grappling with a mix of emotions: sadness for the young boy who faced such upheaval, admiration for the strength he's shown in overcoming his circumstances, and frustration at the world that allowed such things to happen. Jack's story challenges my understanding of the society we live in, shaking the foundations of what I've always believed to be true about the Consortium's role in ensuring well-being. As we reach the training facility, a myriad of questions swirls in my mind, each one echoing a curiosity about a world beyond my own experiences. Jack's past, his roots in the American territory, ignites a yearning in me to know more, not just about him, but about life beyond the European bloc, where I've always lived. I've grown up in a society where the other continents, the other parts of the world under the Triad Consortium's control, are shrouded in mystery. There's a silence about them, a void in our education and media. I realize somewhat startlingly that I know almost nothing about life in the American or Asian territories. The government's regulations, the bureaucratic labyrinths designed to discourage travel, have effectively isolated us, keeping us ensconced in our own little part of the world. The questions on the tip of my tongue beg for release. What is life like in the American territory? How different is it from here? What stories, what truths lie hidden across the oceans? But I remain silent, storing away my questions for another day. There will be time, I hope, for more stories, more revelations. But today I respect the boundary, the unspoken agreement that what has been shared is sufficient. The sparring area is empty except for Jack and me. I've rescheduled our usual late-night training to an earlier slot, explaining to Jack that I have plans with Clara. His raised eyebrow at the mention of a night out makes me feel uncomfortable, but I'm determined not to let his teasing rattle me. Through the relentless practice of our attack drills, I start to notice a real difference in how I move. My kicks have grown crisper, my blocks more automatic. Jack, usually so impassive, offers a nod of recognition. Not bad, he concedes, a scarce word of praise from him. Seems like you're starting to master this. A wave of pride washes over me at his rare approval, but it's swiftly undercut as I'm taken down in our next exchange. Jack's tone turns teasingly inquisitive. This night out, he starts, aiming a swift, low sweep at my legs, his casual posture belying the speed of his attack. Looking to let off some steam? His question comes just as I find myself crashed to the mat once again. I roll my eyes, trying to play it cool. Something like that. A girl's got to have a life outside of getting thrown around on the mat, you know? A slow smile curves his mouth. Well, just make sure you can let off steam with someone who can keep up with you. Wouldn't want your training to go to waste. He remarks, his dark eyes locking onto mine with an unreadable expression. His remark catches me off guard, sending a jolt through me. Is he joking, or is there a hidden message in his words? Opting to keep the mood light, I manage a laugh. I'll keep that in mind, I reply, trying to sound nonchalant. Relief washes over me as the training session finally wraps up, along with this uncomfortable exchange. I'm tempted to bolt for the door, but that would be too obvious, too immature. So I steady my pace, trying to exude calm I don't feel. I can sense his gaze trailing me as I move towards the exit. Have fun, Eva, he calls after me, his voice tinged with a nuance I can't quite place. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. I pause, turning to look back at him. That leaves the field pretty open, doesn't it? I shoot back with a grin. Leaving the combat training area, his laughter echoes behind me, a sound I realize I've never heard from him before. It's a moment that lingers in my mind as I meet Clara, ready for our night out. As Clara and I meet, I push those thoughts aside. Tonight is about freedom, about experiencing life beyond the facility's walls. Yet somewhere in the back of my mind, Jack's words and laughter linger. The evening sky is painted in hues of deep blue and purple as the clock races towards 10 p.m. Clara and I, cloaked in the thrill of an impending adventure, weave our way through the dimly lit corridors of the facility. Our footsteps are light, almost stealthy, as we head towards the exit, the heavy metal doors standing as the final barrier between us and the night's escapades. Clara, adorned in a striking emerald green dress that accentuates her figure gracefully, coupled with stylish knee-high boots, strides with undeniable confidence. Her blonde hair cascades in short waves, complementing her vibrant ensemble. In contrast, my attire for the evening is more subdued. A sleek black dress that's elegant yet comfortable, suited for whatever the night may bring. This difference in our choices reflects our distinct personalities. Clara, always bold and effervescent, while I tend to gravitate towards a more subtle, refined elegance. As the last chimes of the clock echo through the halls, signaling the imminent locking of the doors, we slip out, the heavy metal gates closing with a definitive thud behind us. We're aware that these gates won't open again until 7 a.m., so it looks like we're in for a night out. The outside world greets us with a burst of cool, fresh air, a stark contrast to the stifling discipline of the training facility. For a moment, we stand there, taking in the freedom that wraps around us like a liberating shroud. As we approach Sue, a familiar silhouette catches my eye. Professor Alden, his distinctive silver hair, a wild, unruly mane that seems almost alive, marks him out even from a distance. It frames a face lined with the wisdom of years, yet still animated with the sparkle of ceaseless curiosity. Under thick, bushy eyebrows, his eyes, bright with intelligence and a hint of mischief, scan the surroundings. He's clad in his usual attire, a comfortably worn sweater and trousers that prioritize comfort over fashion. "Good evening, Professor," I call out to him. He stops, a bit taken aback. "Ah, good evening, Miss Voss," he replies, shifting the food bags in his grasp. Driven by curiosity, I ask, "What brings you around here at this time?" My voice carries a hint of incredulity. He lets out a deep sigh, a serious tone coloring his voice. "I'm heading to the outskirts to distribute food to those in desperate need, and there are many who rely on this help for survival," he explains. The way he talks about the struggles of the marginalized, something the media often ignores, really hits home. He continues, "The deaths of these individuals are frequently attributed to diseases or accidents." His words weigh heavily. "Sometimes they rummage near the university looking for something to eat. If they get caught..." His voice fades, his expression darkens. All that remains of them are these fleeting memories for those who have seen them. They're taken to re-education camps, but no one ever comes back from those places. It's a merciless world, Miss Voss. The jolt of realization hits me. The image of the young boy with ice blue eyes I saw rummaging through the garbage bins at my building resurfaces in my mind. He has most certainly been taken to one of these camps by the authorities. My heart tightens with distress. Clara, clearly disturbed as well, asks, "But isn't that dangerous?" He nods. "It can be. Some don't like what I'm doing, see it as a threat, but the appreciation from those I help keeps me going." I absorb his words, feeling the weight of this harsh reality that lies beyond our usual surroundings. "I need to leave now. Good night, girls," he says, continuing on his way. Clara is visibly shaken. "Do you think he's a sympathizer, like Lieutenant Vega said?" I ponder for a moment. All I know is he's an extraordinary man, the brightest I've ever known. His mind seems to grasp every intricate detail, every physical phenomenon with such clarity. Perhaps there's more to this than we can see right now. As Professor Alden disappears into the night, his words linger in our minds, casting long shadows on our thoughts. Clara and I exchange a glance, a silent agreement passing between us. It's time to shake off the heavy cloak of reality, at least for a few hours. As we make our way towards the Sioux area, the city's nightlife unfolds before us with its kaleidoscope of lights and sounds. The contrast couldn't be starker. From the stark truths of the outskirts to the vibrant, neon-lit streets, teeming with people seeking escape in the thrum of music and the swirl of lights. The streets are alive with energy, a symphony of life that's both exhilarating and overwhelming. The buzz of conversation, the rhythmic beat of music spilling out from bars and clubs, and the distant laughter of night revelers create a tapestry of nocturnal excitement. As we meld into the crowd, the weight of our daily routines, the grueling training sessions, and the looming presence of the facility fade into the background. Tonight, we're just two young women out to seize the night, to taste the sweet nectar of freedom and forget, even if just for a few hours, the academy training. Our laughter mingles with the city's melody as we make our way to our chosen destination, a popular bar known for its lively atmosphere and eclectic crowd. The anticipation of what the night holds sends a ripple of excitement through me. For once, the complexities of my training, my evolving partnership with Jack, and the burdens of my thoughts are locked away, hidden behind the heavy metal doors we've left behind. The bar we enter is a pulsating hub of energy, its walls reverberating with the thumping beats of music that promise a night of carefree abandon. The air is thick with the scent of perfumes and the tangy aroma of spirits, creating an intoxicating vibe. As we thread our way through the crowd, I feel the vibrations of the bass under my feet, syncing with the rhythmic beating of my heart. Our laughter, unrestrained and joyous, mingles with the ambient sounds of the bar, a symphony of music, chatter, and clinking glasses. In the dim, flickering lights, faces around us blur into a colorful mosaic of strangers, all here seeking their own slice of the night's magic. Clara, ever the social butterfly, leads the way to the bar, her confident strides matching the liveliness around us. The bartender greets us with a knowing smile, sliding over cocktails that shimmer under the neon lights. With each sip, the liquid courage sets in, and the world around me seems to soften at the edges, my usual inhibitions dissolving in the effervescent bubbles of my drink. As we clink our glasses, toasting to a night of possibilities, I feel a rush of exhilaration. The music shifts, a lively beat that beckons us to the dance floor. Clara grabs my hand, pulling me into the swirling mass of bodies moving in sync with the rhythm. We dance, our movements fluid and unrestrained, laughter spilling from us like cascading notes in a melody. It's a celebration of the moment, of youth, of life. As the night wears on, the surroundings become increasingly blurred, the faces and lights melding into a dreamlike tableau. The world outside the bar feels distant, a forgotten reality as we immerse ourselves in the here and now. The drinks, the music, the dance, they all weave together into a tapestry of euphoria, a momentary liberation from the demands of our daily lives. In this suspended bubble of time, Clara and I are just two friends lost in the revelry, our spirits soaring on the wings of the night. Amidst the pulsating beats and the neon-lit ambiance, our evening takes a turn when we cross paths with two men whose easygoing charm immediately sets them apart in the crowded bar. They're of average height, with light brown hair that's casually styled, and they wear bright, colorful shirts that seem to mirror their vibrant personalities. They are like a breath of fresh air, radiating a warmth and friendliness that's instantly inviting. Clara, with her innate ability to connect with people, strikes up a conversation, and soon, we're all laughing together. Their humor is lighthearted and infectious, a stark contrast to the brooding intensity and silent strength I've grown accustomed to with Jack. These men exude a sense of carefree ease, the nice guy next door kind, who you can easily imagine laughing with over a cup of coffee or sharing jokes at a backyard barbecue. As the evening goes on, the interaction turns into a whirlwind of playful teasing and flirtatious exchanges. There's a certain thrill to it, a feeling of being caught up in the spontaneity of the moment. We're drawn into their world, one where the worries of our daily lives seem to momentarily fade away. A magnetic pull draws me towards the man with the playfully green eyes. His name hovers at the edge of my memory, Maack or Maack, perhaps, but in the moment it hardly seems to matter. There's an easiness about him, a light-hearted charm that feels like a soothing balm. Under the gentle haze of alcohol, every sensation seems amplified yet pleasantly carefree. In his presence, there's an uncomplicated joy, a clarity of connection that stands in stark contrast to the tumultuous, emotionally charged interactions with Jack. It's like stepping into a refreshing stream, the cool waters washing away complexities, leaving only simplicity and ease. As we dance, his movements are slow, in harmony with the languid rhythm of the music. His hand glides over me with a softness that is both careful and deliberate, tracing a path that sets my skin alight with a familiar, comforting tingle. The world around us blurs into a backdrop of muted sounds and colors, and for a moment it's just the two of us, lost in this dance. In the alchemy of the moment, I transform, enveloped in a cocoon of warmth and detachment. Each touch becomes a caress, light as a breeze, soothing in its tenderness. I find myself surrendering to the present, cradled by the effortless comfort of his body, by the delicate kiss of his lips. The idea of spending the night with him starts to take root in my mind, blossoming into a resolve that this is exactly what I need, a way to clear my head, to escape the haunting thoughts. As Clara and I laugh and converse with Matt or Mark and his friend, the decision solidifies within me. A one-night stand, an evening of carefree intimacy, seems perfect to the confusing tangle of emotions and desires. The decision to spend the night at their place comes almost naturally. It's a chance to immerse myself in the simplicity of a momentary connection, to lose myself in the arms of someone whose only expectation is to share the pleasure of the present. Leaving the pulsating liveliness of the bar to enter the hushed and intimate world of their apartment evokes a flood of emotions. Anticipation, laced with sensuality, merges with desire, each step across the threshold marking the entrance into a new act of the evening. Clara, ever attuned to my habits, leans in close, her whisper barely audible. "Remember, we're close to our goal. Don't mess this up. No deep academic discussions tonight, okay?" Her words are a gentle, teasing reminder. A light laugh escapes my lips, easing the tension from my shoulders. I know. Trust me, I'm not planning to use my mouth for debating tonight. Just explorations of Matt, I say. My words light and flirtatious as I bat my eyelashes playfully. She gives me a look filled with amused curiosity. And Matt, who's that? Honestly, what a bizarre question. I roll my eyes at her, then glance meaningfully towards those beautiful green eyes. She bursts into laughter. Okay, but just one piece of advice. Call him Mike when you're, to avoid any embarrassing mix-ups. Ah, so it's Mike. I nod solemnly, pursing my lips towards Clara as if to seal our secret pact. Mike, got it. Here in this space I can be someone else, someone unburdened, free to explore a night of uncomplicated enjoyment. The night unfolds with laughter, flirtation, and shared intimate enjoyments. As I let myself be carried away by the current of the moment, the persistent thoughts of Jack thankfully recede into a distant corner of my mind. They're like shadows, fading against the bright light of present joys and pleasures. In their place, the tangible, pulsating reality of the here and now takes hold, anchoring me in a world of immediate sensations and emotions. It's a welcome reprieve, a chance to live fully in the moment. As morning light seeps into the room, a sobering clarity begins to dawn within me. Amidst the laughter and the shared moments, a part of me can't help but feel that this isn't a big enough escape. The distraction, the temporary easing of tension, it was enjoyable, yes, but now there's a yearning for something deeper, more intense and darker. Damn it. The early morning air is cool against my skin as Clara and I slip through the reopening doors of the facility, our steps heavy with fatigue and the remnants of the night's escapades. I'm enveloped in a cloak of exhaustion, each step a reminder of the night's fleeting freedom and the unfulfilled longing that gnaws at me. The night out was an escape, a chance to break free, to lose ourselves in the company of others. Mike was attentive, his touches gentle, his body comforting over mine, bringing me to a soft orgasm that now makes me want something else. Now that I remember running my hands over his body, another sensation, another desire haunts me. My dark mind betrays me, conjuring up images of a harder, more familiar form, the one that pinned me merciless to the training mat. I'm so fucked. I can't shake off the frustration, the anger at myself. The night was supposed to be a release, a way to rid my mind of Jack, to reclaim some semblance of control over my wandering thoughts. But the very act that was meant to liberate me only served to entangle me further. Mike's gentleness, once a trait I admired, now pales in comparison to the rough intensity I've grown unexpectedly accustomed to. The day starts, shedding light on the outside world, leaving me feeling disillusioned. The night's adventures, instead of providing an escape, have only magnified the confusion and longing that I've been trying to escape. I realize with acute irritation that this man with the beautiful green eyes, his gentleness and attentiveness, no longer suffices. Jack has skewed my desires. My expectations, and what once felt like the pinnacle of pleasure now leaves a bland taste. I resent him for awakening this restless dissatisfaction in me. Crap. The server room, usually a place of solitude and focus, feels different today. As I guide Jack through the intricacies of the network mesh system, I sense his frustration. He's trying to keep up, but I can tell it's a struggle. It's a reversal of our roles in the combat training, and I can't help but find a little satisfaction in it. In the realm of mesh networks, rerouting is akin to an intelligent maze solver, dynamically redirecting data packets through an intricate lattice of nodes, especially when primary pathways are besieged by congestion or disruptions. I explain, pointing to a particular node on the screen. My voice is steady, but inside, I'm enjoying this small victory of knowledge. Jack ran a hand through his hair, his frustration palpable. Great, Eva. More techno jargon. Can't we just say the network finds a new way when the usual path is blocked, like a GPS rerouting us in traffic? He says, exasperated. I nod. Jack leans in, peering intently at the monitor, the lines of code blurring into an intricate dance of digits and symbols. Yeah, me mastering this is like you trying to pull off a whirling tiger leap. Ain't happening, he quips, a wry smile playing on his lips. Not impossible, but honestly, I'd sooner bet on snow in July. I chuckle. Well, we can't all be combat prodigies. Some of us prefer the digital battleground. I'm comfortable here, in my element, where strategy and skill are defined by codes and algorithms. But then Jack changes the subject, and suddenly I'm on unfamiliar ground. Speaking of battles, how was your night out? Find any worthy opponents? He asks it casually, but there's an undercurrent of curiosity that makes me uneasy. I feel my cheeks warm up at the memory. Just the usual stuff. Nothing quite as thrilling as our training sessions, I reply, trying to keep my tone light. He raises an eyebrow, a teasing glint in his eye. Really? I thought the whole point was to escape this excitement for a while. I find myself stumbling over my words, caught off guard. It was different, a change of pace. Jack's grin widens. Not enough action for you out there? I turn away, focusing on the screen. It was just too soft, I mutter almost to myself. Jack cocks his head. A slow smile curves his lips. Too soft, huh? So you don't want gentle? I see. Under this innocent facade of yours, you hide much darker desires. I swallow hard at his statement. Oh, it's not like that, I protest, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. Jack's eyes twinkle with mischief, clearly amused by my discomfort. Don't worry, your secret is safe with me, he says, his voice laced with a teasing edge as he winks playfully. The teasing lingers in the air, and I can't help but smile, despite the annoyance nipping at the edges of my thoughts. Jack's laughter, usually so rare, somehow makes the sterile server room feel more alive. As we finish up, Jack's tone turns serious. Let's call it a day. We've got those combat challenges tomorrow, and I need you sharp. No more distractions. The atmosphere shifts, the lightness of our earlier banter replaced by the weight of what's ahead. Jack's intensity is back, that focused determination that both intimidates and inspires me. Listen, Jack begins, his voice a low growl that echoes slightly off the stark walls. His eyes, usually veiled by a layer of nonchalance, now bore into mine with a piercing sharpness. Tomorrow's combat challenges won't be a walk in the park. They're going to be brutal. I stand rooted to the spot, feeling a sudden tightness in my chest. His words are a jolt, a harsh reminder of the reality of our training. It's as if the safety of the server room has been stripped away, exposing me to the raw, unfiltered truth of what lies ahead. You're fast, and you've gotten better at striking hard, he continues, his tone unyielding. But when you get knocked down, and you will, get back up. Grit your teeth and keep fighting. Don't show weakness. His words hang heavy in the air. It's like a switch, flipped from teasing Jack to all business Jack. Remember what Maack said, only half of us are getting through these selections. Prove to me that I haven't wasted my time training you. There's no softness in his voice, no room for doubt or hesitation. It's a wake-up call, a verbal slap that forces me to face the harsh reality of our situation. I feel a mix of resentment and respect. Resentment at his blunt words, respect for his unwavering focus on our goal. I nod, swallowing hard against the knot in my throat. His challenge, though brutally delivered, ignites something within me. A determination, a fire that I didn't know I had. It's a harsh lesson, but one I realize I needed to hear. As we leave the server room, the air feels cooler, the corridor more daunting. His words linger in my mind, a constant echo that reinforces the gravity of what's to come. I'm entering a new phase of the selection, one that will test me like never before. So in my head, I'm just prepping for what's coming tomorrow, getting myself psyched. The next day will bring trials that will push me to my limits, but I'm ready. Ready to fight, to prove myself not just to Jack, but to everyone who doubts me. I may not be the strongest or the most experienced, but I have determination and grit. And sometimes that's all you need.
Did this story captivate you? For just the price of a coffee, you can dive into the full audiobook and support my journey as an author. Every contribution truly means the world to me and keeps this adventure alive. The link to the audiobook on Kobo is in the description of this video. Thank you so much for your support.